Introduction to British and American Children's Literature. Folktales, Week 4. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away. This is how many of our beloved childhood stories begin. Hearing these words opens our minds to excitement, possibilities, and wonder. We will explore these traditional stories in this lesson. Folktales are stories that were passed from adults to children as a way to unite, inform, educate, and warn children about the world around them. Every culture in the world has folktales, and while there are variations, there are also common characteristics. They are usually about common everyday people. There are often supernatural or magical elements. They are simple to understand, about simple life, teaching simple things. They teach the common morals and values for a cultural group, and they originated orally. They were told rather than read. There are many different categories of folktales. Myths are often origin stories that explain how and why the world came to be. Beast tales mainly use animals as the main characters to teach lessons. Fairy tales always have some element of magic or the impossible in them. Trickster tales are some of the most fun folk tales. They usually have a main character that is an animal who somehow tricks the other characters. Sometimes the main character tricks others for good, but other times the trick teaches the trickster and the reader a lesson. Cumulative stories use repetition to build suspense and often explain how things are created or made. Pourquoi stories are a new category, but the stories are old. They explain why things in the world are the way they are. Legends are stories that are based on real people or true events that have grown and may have become exaggerated over time. Tall tales are stories that may be about real or imagined people that are bigger than real life. For example, a character in a tall tale isn't tall. He or she is taller than the trees. And here we are at Little Red Riding Hood again. Why do I keep going back to this story? Well, first of all, it's one of the most well-known of the folk tales, and it has been retold in countless versions around the world. Also, it has a very clear moral. It was told to keep children safe and to teach them how important it was to follow rules and obey their elders. They learned that bad things happened to themselves, as Little Red Riding Hood, and their loved ones, as Grandma, when they didn't obey. This story is also a combination of many of the different forms of folktales. It is a trickster tale because the wolf first tries to trick Red Riding Hood to come with him deep into the woods. Then he tries to trick her into coming closer by pretending to be her grandmother. He wants her to come closer so he can eat her. It is also a fairy tale because wolves can't talk. And once you're eaten, you can't live again. So there is a strong element of magic or the impossible. Because the wolf is a catalyst for the action of the story, and he could talk, this is also a beast tale. We're going to look a little more closely at this tale in the remainder of the lesson. The first known printing of Little Red Riding Hood was by Charles Perrault in 1697, and it was in French. But the history of the story can be traced as far back as the 1st century in the Middle East. That makes this a 2,000-year-old story. But it wasn't translated into English until 1729. The Grimm brothers combined 2 different versions of the story. Charles Perrault's for the main body of the story. They added Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother being rescued by a huntsman, killing the wolf for its fur. Since then, there have been too many variations to count, and it has been retold and reimagined in books, movies, TV, and song. We could easily devote the whole semester to researching and discussing the many meanings of this story. But we are only going to touch on some of the more popular and agreed upon theories. First, the most obvious and one of the most common theories is that it's a warning for children. It reminds them to follow the rules and to obey their elders. Also, it illustrates the importance of not talking to strangers. Another theory is sunrise and sunset. Red Riding Hood is the sun moving across the land. The wolf is the night chasing the sun and finally swallowing it, creating the night. When Red Riding Hood is cut out of the wolf, it represents the dawn. There are also many legends of a hero or heroine being swallowed alive and then rescued, such as Jonah and the whale from the Bible. Along with the warning for children, another common theory is more for adults, and it's believed that the story of Red Riding Hood is about the sexual awakening of Red Riding Hood herself by the wolf. Whatever your thoughts on these theories, the beauty of a good story is that you're allowed your own interpretations. Here is a list of just a few of the many different versions in all different media that can be found of the Little Red Riding Hood. I really like the song that's playing right now, Little Red Riding Hood by Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs from 1966.
Oh! Who's that I see walking in these woods? Why, it's Little Red Riding Hood. Hey there, Little Red Riding Hood. You sure are looking good. You're everything a big bad wolf could want. Listen to me, Little Red Riding Hood. I don't think little big girls should go walking in these spooky old woods alone. Oh! What big eyes you have, the kind of eyes that drive wolves mad. So just to see that you don't get chased, I think I ought to walk with you for a ways. What full lips you have, they're sure to lure someone bad. So until you get to Grandma's place, I think you ought to walk with me and be safe. I'm gonna keep my sheet suit on Well, I'm sure that you've been shown that I can be trusted walking with you alone. Oh, Little Red Riding Hood, I'd like to hold you if I could, but you might think I'm a big bad wolf, so I won't. Oh, what a big heart I have, the better to love you with. Little Red Riding Hood, even bad wolves can be good. I'll try to keep satisfied just to walk close by your side. Maybe you'll see things my way before we get to Grandma's place. Little Red Riding Hood, you sure are looking good. You're everything a big bad wolf could want. Oh, I mean bad. Bad. Bad.
I'm going to end this presentation in true folktale style. And they lived happily ever after. See you next week.
Oh, who's that I see walking in these woods? Why, it's Little Red Riding Hood.